And hello, welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I am Daren, Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up, we'll explore a film festival that's serving as a distinctive platform for showcasing artistic styles and crafts from the African Diaspora. Following that, we delve into how our company is dedicating to providing support, opportunities, and networking for both creatives and small business owners. And after that, we'll be joined by a professional basketball player whose roots right here in the Bronx. More details later on in the show. And then finally, we'll discuss the significant strides that have unfolded this year and their impact on auto workers, Hollywood actors, and writers. Stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I am Daren Jaime, and you are now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers to the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. It's Open, being broadcast simultaneously on MNN's channels. You guys stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Well, before we dive into our program today, BronxNet is thrilled to mark 30 years of positive impact right here in the borough of the Bronx. Our latest venture, the BronxNet Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx. It represents our most significant step in bridging the digital gap. However, we can't do it alone, so we need your support. Your contribution ensures access to cutting-edge studios, top-quality equipment, and professional development opportunities for individuals of all ages in the borough of the Bronx. So join us in shaping a brighter future in technology and media. Let's work together to make the Bronx a better place for everyone. You can donate today at bronxnet.org/donate, and we'll create a lasting impact together. Well, down to news now. Some other things have been going on throughout the course of this past week. We'll take you through it with our Bronx updates. We are starting with developments in city news. New York State Governor Kathy Hochul has unveiled a comprehensive 4-pillar plan to combat hate crimes in New York City. Now, the initiative encompasses a hate and bias support hotline, strategic advertising on social media platforms, guidance for parents to recognize indicators of hate-related issues in their children, and specialized training for mental health professionals. Emphasizing the concerning surge in hate crimes within New York City, Governor Hochul underscored the need for immediate action. As part of her strategy, she's urging social media companies, including TikTok, to take decisive measures in monitoring and curbing the dissemination of hate speech on their platforms. The Green Action Plan, developed by the Bronx Economic Development Corporation, challenged Bronx-based colleges to create a comprehensive sustainability plan to address many climate issues. Our BronxNet reporter Brittany Albane has the details.
The Green Action Plan, developed by the Bronx Economic Development Corporation, challenged Bronx-based colleges to create a comprehensive sustainability plan to address many climate issues. Now, Bronx Community College is the recipient of the first $1 million Green Action grant to implement their plan on campus.
Bronx Community College, BCC, had some great ideas, and they were ultimately the winner. So we're delighted to see how their ideas come to fruition with NYPA financial support.
The Green Action Challenge aimed to address colleges' environmental footprints. 7 of the 12 colleges that chose to participate submitted proposals focused on energy production, waste management, food sourcing, green space, transportation, and water.
I sent a note out to all the college presidents, and I said, Tell us what you're doing on sustainability. Tell us what you're doing to help on climate control. And then tell us what you would do with $1 million.
With the $1 million prize, Bronx Community College plans to save 2 million gallons of water, compost 900,000 pounds of food waste, reduce flooding, reduce plastic use, and launch a green jobs training program.
Hopefully we will come up with some initiatives that will benefit the entire borough, not just the borough, but also the city.
For the 6 other schools that did not take home the prize, the Green Action Plan will connect universities with resources to start working to implement their proposals.
We'll work closely with organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, BCDI, CUNY, and others to make sure that more grant opportunities are available. More money, more money. I don't want to leave any money on the table.
After a successful inaugural competition, the Green Action Plan is already looking for ways to make a yearly competition a reality. Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Schuyler Albane.
And thank you, Brittany. In other news, the Northwest Bronx Community and Clergy Coalition recently held a rally for union workers for better income. Our BronxNet reporter Chanel Thompson has a story.
The Northwest Bronx Community and Clergy Coalition came together with labor, elected officials, and community members to celebrate the release of the Together for Kingsbridge Community Vision Plan.
We need good paying jobs, not just regular jobs, union, good jobs with benefits. We also know that we know the things that are needed in the neighborhood. So we want every step of the way for the community to be involved in this process. So there's a huge, big celebration because that vision document does have those things. But now we're saying that the request for proposal that's coming out soon needs to reflect what's on this vision document. So we're here to tell the city and everybody, hey, union and community, we're together in this.
The Northwest Bronx Community and Clergy Coalition was founded in 1974, and their mission unites diverse communities to fight for racial justice and economic democracy through intergenerational communities, organizing to transform the Bronx and beyond. From teenager to now an adult, Elijah McCall tells us about his journey and how being a part of the coalition has changed him.
A 12th grade teacher, she taught me about the Kingsbridge Armory, started a project on like what if we owned it, what do we do, what could we do and put in it, and we started creating projects, stuff like that. Then later down the line, she invited this organization called Northwest Bronx, now that I'm a part of, and we went to their monthly meeting on Saturday, November. I met Juan Nunez, and I also met a bunch of other leaders in Northwest Bronx, and they were saying how it's important that the community gets hold of it and actually owns it, and how important that this trademark becomes community use.
The stability of the community by reducing violence and restoring peace is through investments. Governor Kathy Hochul and Mayor Eric Adams announced a combined grant of $200 million towards the redevelopment of the Kingsbridge Armory, which has been a 3-decade-long fight to achieve equitable economic development for this community. Councilwoman Pierna Sanchez spoke a little about that.
We are here, I dare say, we are here stronger in a stronger position than we ever have been before, because we have this seed funding of $200 million. That is a vote of confidence from our government. That is a signal to the world that we mean it. We are going to redevelop this armory here today, and the community.
This gathering is to deepen relationships and partnerships to make the Bronx better. This coalition has brought together local residents, small businesses, faith and labor institutions, and much more. This vision is being celebrated by everyone who believes in bettering their community.
People deserve to live with dignity, and New York City has gotten very expensive, and it's gotten so expensive that it's not affordable for people who live here their whole lives. We want the community to get nice and beautiful, and we want to be a part of that and make sure we get to see that happening.
To learn more about the Kingsbridge Armory and the Northwest Bronx Community Clergy and Coalition, you can visit their website at www.northwestbronx.org. Reporting for BronxNet, Chanel Thompson.
And thank you, Chanel. That is all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We are taking a quick break, but guess what? We'll have more open when we return.
I remember when the Bronx did not really have a media outlet properly representing the people of the Bronx.
BronxNet provides for the community by being a community where people can be empowered to share their voices.
We are in a really great place technologically. We've got all the resources that we need to be effective.
Whether it's through cameras, storytelling, editing, we have provided those services for 30 years.
BronxNet's mission is to be a voice for the community.
To educate, to inform, and to inspire.
And you can be a part of it. We've built studios for you.
And welcome back. The African Diaspora International Film Festival is a global film festival aiming to inspire creativity, challenge stereotypes, and foster a shift in attitudes perpetuating injustice. The festival provides a distinct platform for showcasing artistic expressions within the African diaspora in cinema. And joining me now and sharing more is the co-director and co-founder of the African Diaspora International Film Festival, Dr. Reinaldo Barroso-Spech, and then Faith and Blackness, an exploration of AfroLatine spirituality film. Director, we got Charles Reynoso, and then also producer and editor Michael A. Lopez. And gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for being with us here on the show. And I'll start off first of all with Dr. Reinaldo. As we talk about this in the film festival, we know that injustice is prevalent right across our communities and particularly inner city communities. And I know that some of this film festival really tackles just that. Talk to me about the background towards this film festival.
Well, the film festival started with the intention of putting forward the stories of people that are seldom known around here. In the particular case of the Latino experience, we realized that the notion of Latino was surrounded by a lot of confusion. Latino is not a race. So we were able to interact with filmmakers, with writers who had worked on the Latino experience, and we found films that from the very beginning were part of the programming. Near that, I mean, parallel to that, we also learned a little bit more about the First Nation groups that are all over Latin America, and then we realized the commonalities between the groups, those who were already there and those who were brought by force, but at a certain point they converge. So we start looking for films that depicted those stories, and it has become an important part of the general selection of the film festival. I don't need to tell you that today, with the technology and more financial support, Latin America is producing a large number of films. But we still see an erasure of people of African descent and indigenous people in many of those films. So what we are trying to do with our means, resources, is to bring to New York City and the other cities where we have activities, films about those people, because we think that those stories are an important component of the Latino experience. The Latino experience is rich, is diverse, and people of African descent and indigenous people are a strong component of it, and they keep enriching that general experience that we call Latino experience.
Yeah. Let me bring Michael in. When we talk about the experience, you are really the producer and the editor for Faith and Blackness, and that's an exploration of Afro-Latino spirituality. Why do we find Afro-Latino spirituality of essence that you want a wider population to become so familiar with?
Well, I think the story is a powerful story, as the doctor just expressed. There is a wide variety of people within the ethnic group that is called Latino, Latine, Latinx. And so we wanted to celebrate the spiritualities therein. I think when you think of African spiritualities in particular, they're often limited to Western African faith traditions, and Latino people often have a certain perspective on those stories. So we just wanted to divulge so much more about the kind of spiritualities that are practiced. There are story. There is a Buddhist in our film. There is a Muslim woman in our film. There are people of Western African faith traditions, multiple Christians and Catholics. So what we found was that there is commonality that can be found. And so just as the doctor was expressing how the indigenous cultures, the first people cultures, and African culture can have overlap, we found that same tonality, that same experience with our spiritual groups, our people of different faith traditions. And we want part of that justice that you were talking about in the beginning. Injustice can also incur when we're saying, oh, we're all different, we have nothing in common, and we should be separated. So I think that togetherness, that jointness, that story of people in this particular case are telling stories of how can we decolonize our faith? How can we decolonize our culture? And in this case, particularly their spiritualities. And we found that really powerful, and we think others will find it powerful as well.
Yeah. Charles, as the director, talk to me about what you want people to see, and ultimately, what is it that you want people to take away from this particular film?
So we actually struggled with that ourselves right in the beginning, because as we were talking to the folks, they had so many different stories, and there was one theme that really came across from all of them, and it was the idea that if you exist under a structure that dictates a part of your life, then that structure should love you as much as you love yourself, and it should incorporate all of who you are versus erasing a piece of who you are. There were a few themes, like one, I want Latinos to know that Latinos are Black, right? Latinos are Asian, Latinos are white, Latinos are indigenous. Like, Latino is not a race, right? So, like, folks will come in every single kind of face and every single kind of faith. Like, we are not a monolith. And so it's important to know that while there is something that ties us, there's also a lot of beauty in, like, what makes us, like, varied from each other.
Yeah. And so I want to explore this word of the triple consciousness, because when we talk about the concept of triple consciousness, this is something that you guys bring out. And who would like to speak to the triple consciousness?
Well, triple consciousness is a term that was coined by our mentor, Miriam Jimenez Roman, the late Dr. Miriam Jimenez Roman. She was an amazing person, and we encourage you to go and check out the AfroLatina reader. It is one of the great books on the subject of Black Latinidad and really describes it well. And it's just beautiful stories, so it's not just an academic piece. And that term, triple consciousness, is something that she coined to express the experience of being Black in your physical, phenotype, how you present to the world, being Latin American, Latino, of a South American or Caribbean community, and being American, being in the U.S., specifically in the U.S. And so those three consciousness are totally unique in their experience. And I think many of us experience that triple consciousness. So yours might be in sexuality and other elements of identity like culture. But that thing of being in three mindsets is the experience of many of us who are saying, for example, I am of African descent, but I have never been to the continent, right? And so I can honor and celebrate that culture that has been bestowed to me, both genetically and in my practice. But that doesn't mean that I have the same connection to it. I am bestowed with a more present and prevalent U.S. Western culture in which I live, right? So my mind, my mind is filled with those different perspectives. Many of us have that experience. For example, someone with a darker skin complexion, right, might be experiencing, I'm Black, therefore I am not Latino. Why are you speaking Spanish, right? Many of our colleagues and friends and the folks that we interviewed over time have told us these same stories. And so that's what triple consciousness is kind of sitting in multiple places and sometimes having to jump across those identities, which we hope people don't have to do.
So for people who want to find out and really participate in this film festival, let's give them some information as to how they can reach out, how they can be a part.
Well, the website is nyadiff.org. There's also a phone number, 212-864-1760, and they can reach out to us and get information directly on the website, and particularly going to the different venues and find brochures over there. So we are out there.
Yeah. What's it like working with each other? I mean, obviously, a lot comes to the table to put this together, but talk to me about the sentiment of what it's like working with each other.
Well,
I can talk about what it's like.
I'm sorry. Talking from the perspective of a festival organizer, we get submissions to the festival. And in other occasions, we look for films. If you look at the Latino selection in this event, there are many films that are going to be a premiere here in New York City. We went out there, found them, watched them. We attend many festivals, general festivals like the Cannes Film Festival and specialized festival like the Chicago Latino Film Festival, for example. So we were exposed to the work. We considered that the work was appropriate for what we do, and some of them made it to the selection, because I must tell you, we have limited resources and we do not program all we want because of that. The filmmakers, the producers, they have a different chemistry. So, I mean, I let them talk.
First off, I want to say thank you for choosing us for the festival. It was so beautiful to be part of such a collection of films. So I really appreciate it. Just to say, when it comes to working with Michael and I'm pointing in a direction. I don't know where he is in this call, but Michael and I have actually we've been friends for like over 2 decades, and we've been working together on random art things over the course of all that time. So, like, when I think we both reached a point where this was something that was really important to both of us, and so creating art together became fairly easy. I say some crazy idea, and then Michael says, "Here's a better way to do that idea." And then I'm like, "Ooh, but what if we had pictures?" And Michael's like, "Here's some really great ways to do pictures," right? And so we have a really, really good collaboration. We went to school together. Like, we were both we studied the same stuff at Lehman. We were both from the Bronx, so it was really easy for us to find that flow. And being Afro-Latino, it was like this was content that was super easy for us to connect on.
Well, gentlemen, I want to wish you definitely the best of success, and thank you for joining us here on this segment. A lot has been shared, and hopefully a lot of people partake. So thanks all for being with us.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you.
No worries. And listen, for more information, find out more about the film at faithandblackness.com. And then for more information, you can also visit the website at nyadiff.org. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this. And we are back. Originating as a local, community-based focused marketplace with in-person interactions, Ours NYC has evolved into a platform that provides, supports opportunities and networking for both creatives as well as small business owners. And initially centered around fostering a social and community-driven atmosphere, they have broadened their scope, extending these opportunities to a wider network of consumers. And joining me now is the CEO and founder of Ours NYC, Shekenah Campbell. And Shekenah, good to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm happy for the opportunity.
Well, happy to have you. And as we talk about Ours at NYC, obviously, as I've mentioned, there's been some tremendous growth for you. For you, putting Ours NYC together and being that entrepreneur, what's the journey been like?
Oh, the journey has been so exciting and fulfilling, being able to work with people from my neighborhood and finding more like-minded people who aspire to do more than the traditional career. It's been a pleasure helping people um, start their business on a smaller level and grow since. It's been a really fun time. I'm proud of the people that I've met during this journey. I'm proud of myself because they've inspired me to move on and create a brand for myself.
When we talk about creating a brand, you've got a clothing line. And when we talk about that clothing line, a little bit we can see right there on the other side of the screen is you've got your hoodie on. But what was the inspiration to say, hey, Ours NYC is going to be a clothing line?
At some point, it had to be. The events were starting to grow. People were coming in and they would meet me as the host, and oftentimes people would be like, "Well, where's your stuff? Where's your booth?" And I was like, you know what? This is starting to come to be something where people might want a piece of merchandise just to pay homage to the person who put this together. Almost like if you were to go to like uh, a major concert, and maybe you wouldn't leave with like a certain artist t-shirt, but you would leave with like a t-shirt that represents the whole umbrella of the event. So I said, okay, let me start to do something like that for Ours, and it took off, and it started to do well.
So when we talk about taking off, you started 2016, and then 2016, you've seen over the course of 7 years some major expansion. Take me through from where it was in 2016 to where you are today.
It started off in like a really small art venue, where really it was just like my friends, yeah, just really my close friends. Everyone at that time, everyone on my roster was someone that I had a personal relationship with. And just word of mouth and just people paying homage to what I was able to do for them from that one event back in 2016. They told their peers in the art community that, hey, here's a person taking a stance for us and taking a risk and renting out this venue so that we can feel like our own bosses for the day. And that word of mouth turned into me working with people that I'd never known before. I didn't know anything about their platforms, and then I was able to pour into their businesses. And then there was just like a huge overlap of networking, and yeah, again, like the room just started getting bigger and bigger, and people started to inquire about, where's my stance for myself in this artistry. And then I started to make clothes on my own, and it's super meaningful. I mean, Ours, it's like any and everyone can connect to it. Anyone that cares about building a future with people, because we're all stronger together. And coming up with "Don't Burn This Bridge" as the slogan was also very empowering, because I realized that just a small idea turned into something so major. And the bridge started off as a thought process, and then it turned into me holding hand with my friends, my peers, and them grabbing onto other hands, their friends and their peers, and now we're a bridge, we're a chain of opportunity. And at this point, the possibilities are endless. I mean, here I am talking to you this morning, and it's nothing that I could have ever imagined.
Well, I'm glad you are talking to me, but I think that you've got a gift, right? Because in order to get to where you are today, you've had to have some in-person networking events, and those were the things that actually were the catalyst for a lot of the movement that you've had in your business. So putting together an in-person networking event, not really an easy thing to do. I think a lot of people think they can do it, but what goes behind it for you in terms of making these events? Because you were hosting these just about every couple of months now.
Yeah. It takes a lot of reaching out. It takes a lot of people, saying, it takes a lot of no's, I think in anything that you try that's new. And, when people aren't familiar with you and trusting you with their time and their energy. But yeah, it takes a lot of time, patience, and just communication, and like having moments like this just makes it easier for me to communicate what I'm about, because now I can just reference a moment like this and say, hey, this is something that I really do. This is something that I really care about. I am really in this for your personal growth and your business growth. So it's gotten easier, but in the beginning it was very tough trying to find people that would trust me with their time, especially coming from our community where sometimes trust can be lost. But that's been one of the best parts, finding each other and believing in each other and taking more chances and pouring into each other. It's been a beautiful thing. I'm really finding a family in this work.
Yeah, when you cross that trust barrier, and that's a huge barrier to get success in, because trust is not always easy in our community. But as you said, you've been able to get that down, and you've been doing some major things. So talk to me about 2024. I mean, we're right around the corner from 2024, and what do you have coming up that people can focus their eyes on?
Oh, so that's a great question. So one of the spin-off events that I was able to start during COVID was a tea party. So basically, these tea parties is just like a calm and easy way for a bunch of us to get together and literally drink tea and discuss challenges that we have within our neighborhoods amongst ourselves. And we have these conversations that'll make it easier for us to coexist with each other, even though sometimes we may have differences on like how certain situations should be handled. But I think that these tea parties allow us an opportunity to see and feel and hear one another and have a more human connection. That way, our day-to-day amongst ourselves is much more, it makes it a more safe environment when we have, when we can say, hey, oh, I met this woman or this man at the tea party and I liked what they had to say, or I didn't love what they had to say, but I liked the way that they said it. And it just gives us an opportunity to find different ways to respect and love one another, and I think that'll translate into more peace in our community.
Well, Shekenah, I want to thank you so much for being with us, and congratulations. Ours NYC is the brand, and we will certainly be on the lookout for it. Thanks much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Really, really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for being with us here. For more information, you can visit their website at oursnyc.com. Want to encourage you, please don't go anywhere. We got more open coming up right after this.
Only 57% of New York City high school students are college ready by their senior year. .5% of high school graduates either have no plans to attend college or are uncertain that they will ever attend. .34% of young adults don't go to college because they can't afford it. Discover what's possible. BronxNet's education programs, internships, and opportunities help engage and inspire Bronx youth and beyond to pursue their passions. Be a part of the BronxNet family. Whether you're interested in our shows, joining a class, or donating to support our mission, visit bronxnet.org to learn more.
And welcome back. Growing up in the Bronx for some has been known as being challenging. We had an opportunity to sit down with the young man, Marcus Patterson, who actually discussed his personal journey as a professional basketball player and the impactful experiences that have molded him. We'll take a look at that right now. Talk to us. You came out of Mount St. Michael here, huh?
Yes, I did. Yes,
so what was that like?
Mount St. Michael was actually great for me. Learned a lot there, really just about brotherhood and just a lot of values, a lot of core values. So I think that was really good for me, especially coming out of where out of public school and kind of battling. You never know what's going to happen the day you go to school. So going to high school and going to Mount definitely helped me.
Right. So you go to high school, then college, and then you got also, you know, a pro career. But talk to us about where you are today, first of all.
Yeah. So I recently just got back from Albania, and great experience. I think probably my best pro career on and off the court. I grew so much just as a player and a person. And I really enjoyed my time there.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed my time.
So you spent time also in England?
Yeah, England was great.
England.
Yeah, honestly, living in London is the same thing like New York. That was a shocker for me, but the culture was there, and I learned how to be a pro. And actually, after playing in London, I went back home and I said, man, I'm not good enough. I got to take a year off. And
gap year, that's what
and that's why it was crazy. The gap year is so important. Took that gap year and worked on my body, worked on my mind, and I ended up getting a really good opportunity to go play in Portugal. So that gap year for me I needed that.
Yeah. Well, listen, you just sold it on the last segment right there, right? But for yourself, talk to me about coming out of the Bronx, right, and then now, you know, professional. There's a huge gap between learning how to play high school basketball and really becoming an adult and playing out there, living in a place that you're out there by yourself.
Right.
But give us that advice about, you know, how to adult that.
Right.
Because there's some adulting involved here.
Most definitely. Obviously, you know, you're playing basketball, you're always adapting, right? There's always different game situational plays where you just have to adapt. And I always took those stuff on the court outside. And it really just meeting different people, and, you know, it forced my hand. And when you're put in those situations, you're bound to grow.
Right. So. And you're taking your experience and your message and you're passing it on to people. I mean, you've done some great things. I mean, you are class president, admissions student ambassador, head student representative, diversity inclusion committee, HEOP summer peer advisor. But you always found a way that even though you were doing basketball and trying to work on your own career, of also being able to give back. Why did you feel it was important to give back?
So I ended up getting a full scholarship to go play basketball, but not because of basketball per se. It was because the HOP program, which is the Higher Education Opportunity Program, is for students who come from homes that don't have the financial means. And to me, that meant everything, right? So coming from the Bronx, not having opportunities where I can go sit down and, you know, maybe talk to a president and, you know, talk to him about business or whatever the case may be. I just thought it was important to just get my hands in and get involved with everything and try to give back and learn as much as I could with the opportunity.
And the message that you give to students nowadays, what do you tell them?
It's gonna sound cliche,
yeah,
but I promise you, it's really just hard work, having a solid plan, and maintaining your vision. You know, it'll get tough, right? But getting better 1% each day, it really does help you along the journey. Just understand and always remember your why.
Right. What's the why for you?
For me, it's just coming from the Bronx. It gave me that edge, gave me those humble beginnings, and I don't ever want to lose that. So my why is just to keep going and showing people that it can be done.
You know, everybody talks about wanting to play in the NBA.
Right.
But there is a whole other world.
Yeah.
Playing overseas.
Yeah.
What's that life like? And, you know, I know you have the NBA, everybody has the NBA dream, but talk to me about that overseas life.
Overseas life the lifestyle is a blessing. You get to travel, right? You get to try different foods and just be in different cultures. I always tell athletes, when you go overseas, don't just sit in the house, play video games, go to practice. Go out, see the world, and have friends outside of your team. I have friends now that I can call, I still call every day, who live in London, who live in Portugal. And these are some of my closest friends. So just having that, you know, is truly a blessing. I don't take it for granted.
So for you, what's the next goal?
Obviously, I can't play forever, but I've really been given this thought. I really want to get into management. I believe that a lot of athletes, you know, they're misled sometimes and they need that guidance. So for me, growing up, I've always tried to take the good out of different people that I've met. And for me, if I can just give back and help athletes just like myself with their journeys, I think that's something that I really want to get into and help them out with.
You learned a lot of lessons overseas, but I think one of the greatest lessons I think people talk about is that lesson of personal relationship and peer relationships, right?
Right.
And relationships with people. We are so disjointed sometimes as a country with, foreign relations. But what's the foreign relations been like for you? Because obviously you have to be able to function in order to survive.
Man, like I said, I really just try to just learn as much as the culture as possible and just try to remain open-minded, despite what's going on culturally wise, just always trying to put myself in other people's shoes while also respecting my core values. So I think that alone has led me to get extremely far upon this journey.
Yeah. And so the Bronx, give a shout out to your classmates. What year did you graduate?
Well, in the Bronx, 2013. It's been a while.
It's been a while, right?
It's been a while. I gotta think about that.
And for college?
College 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now you're looking to see where you're gonna end up.
See where I end up next.
What's it like being a free agent now? I mean, this is real free agency here.
Honestly, I really hate it because you never know. I can just get a call, hey, we're going here, and then I just gotta pack my bags and just leave.
And people don't understand that when you get that call, it's like a week. It's not like we give you a long period of time. When they call...
Honestly, I still have my stuff in a suitcase from this past season.
Right.
So you just never know when you're going to get up and go. So you just have to stay ready.
Right. So when we talk about the Bronx, I know you said you want to thank the Bronx a little bit for
sure,
what it's done for you. So I'll give you that opportunity. What do you want to say?
What I've learned in just thanking the Bronx, it truly helped me build character, kept me humble, having that chip on my shoulder. But I think most importantly, it allowed me to face my fears.
Mm-hmm.
And taking that wherever I go, I'm going full head on, whatever room I'm in. I'm just gonna go in there like God sent me, and I'm going full force. So I just really gotta thank the Bronx for that, because it taught me that.
Well, Marcus, good to have you.
I appreciate that, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to seeing you.
Most definitely.
If you make it out there to Spain, I might see you out there
For
too.
sure,
If you make it
for
back
sure.
to England, I might see you out there too.
Come on out.
All right. Great story. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more right after this.
30 years of BronxNet, 4 years of Modern Odyssey. Broadcasting stories that may inspire you, untold or underreported stories. BronxNet, your story is heard. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching Modern Odyssey on BronxNet.
And welcome back. From Hollywood to automotive production lines, labor unions in the United States find themselves thrust in the national spotlight once more. In 2023, approximately 453,000 workers have initiated strikes advocating for improved wages and working conditions across various industries in the aftermath of the pandemic. And joining me now and sharing more and providing some insight is the founding partner of the Boyd Law Group. We've got Patrick J. Boyd with us. And Patrick, good to have you. It's been a minute, but glad to have you back.
Nice to see you again, Jeff.
Yeah,
happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. And let's get right at it. When we talk about strikes, I mean, a lot going on across the United States. I talked about it in the lead. Let's kick off and talk a little bit about the United Auto Workers Union, because a pretty substantial strike, and at the end, it seems as though some auto workers got what they wanted.
That's right. They're certainly going to have a happier Thanksgiving and Christmas in light of the negotiation results, I think. Sean Fain had been talking about wanting to present a meaningful ask to the auto manufacturers, if you will. And certainly the situation was this: when things were down, management said things are down, the union's going to have to make concessions. And now things are not down. And so the union said, we did our part, it's time for you to do yours. And yeah, it's almost a bulge-breaking result here. They wound up getting, I believe it's a 33% overall increase. That's with the cost of living and other benefits thrown in, but a meaningful change in wages for lots and lots of hardworking people in the automotive plants. Another plant was opened that had been closed in Illinois. In addition, there had been some dispute as to whether or not these plants would be able to and would work on, and the workers would get paid for working on electric batteries. That has now been explicitly included in the contract. So that work will be going to the auto workers. They will be paid for it, and they will be paid much more as a result, which is a pretty great result for the workers who had been working hard and made their concessions when they needed to, and the economy was not going well for auto manufacturing, and now they're reaping the benefits of that trade. So it's nice to see and a good result.
I mean, let's break down some numbers here. I mean, when you talk about the United Auto Workers Union, they really were looking for a huge increase there. They wanted about 40%. They ended up with about 36, but even still, 40%, that's major.
It is, and that's over a short amount of time. The contract expires in April 2008, so it's not all immediate, but it's still substantial, and some of it is right away. And it's really going to make a change. Another good piece of information, to the extent that they are leaders in the industry, and American industrial workers are leading places for others. After these results came down, Toyota, Hyundai, and Honda all renegotiated with their workers too. So people without the necessary protections of the union still wound up getting the wage increases because they knew the advocacy for those wages were going to come to them and that they would lose good workers otherwise. So that advocacy by the UAW on behalf of those workers wound up inuring not just to the benefit of those workers, but also other hardworking laborers in auto.
Talk about Ford for a moment. We understand that the retirees of Ford are also smiling today because there'll be some additional benefits that will be coming their way.
That's right. It's virtually an across the board improvement in retirement benefits, pension benefits, wage benefits, and then of course this reopening of a plant is not a common thing, but I think it's Belvidere, Illinois, where they're reopening a plant that had been closed. So just great. And you know, I would say also, Daren, fair. The truth of the matter is that the union made concessions when things were not good for the industry, and now things are good for the industry, and they got in kind. They made concessions before. Now they've gotten gains as a result. So in some ways, it was very contentious, of course, as it always is, but it wasn't a long strike. I think it was 50 days or so.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they gave before and they got now, and that's the way you want to see unions work with employers for mutual success and benefit, if you will.
And when you talk about the 50 days, that's a 50 long day period. I mean, when you think about being out almost 2 months, we can say, oh, that's not a lot of time. But when you're the auto manufacturer, you're saying that's a lot of time. People on this side of the desk, though, were quite honestly shocked at the fact that 40% is what they were going for. 40 and 36%, you might as well say that's a total win there. But to aim at 40 and to come home with 36, I mean, you know, people behind our desk, analysts were saying this may not happen. But the reality is, what do you think was the key factor in actually bringing this home?
It's hard to say for certain, but I do think that leaders, Fain did a great job of advertising the concessions that were made in the past to justify the asks for the future, if you will. And he was very, very pointed about his position. Before the strike happened, he talked at length about what the auto workers needed and deserved and expected. And I think because he telegraphed it, and also, by the way, telegraphed it with the offset of pointing out that executives had been making money and getting increases for years now. So the executives were doing better and better and better. I think that turned the public spotlight on this. Interestingly enough, not only did President Biden show up at one point in support of the strikers, but so did former president and current presidential hopeful President Trump show up in support of the striking workers. So both sides of the political aisle, in this case, the Democrats and the Republicans, were supporting the union in their advocacy for better wages and benefits and for more industrial capacity and work to be done in these United States. So I think that's a political observation that probably helped in the strength of the cause.
We talked about auto workers, but let's shift our focus for a moment because in addition to auto workers, we also had actors and writers who actually went on strike. And not just for a couple of days, literally we're talking months. Began in July 2023. This is particularly for actors, 118 days of strike. When we talk about the writers, 148 days, and a lot of fiery conversation about this because actors saying, listen, you got AI out there, writers talking about AI. That became a huge talking point during this negotiation period, but let's break it down.
Sure. So you're absolutely right. AI was an issue both for the actors and the screenwriters. For the screenwriters, the issue was whether or not AI could be used to generate sort of evolutions from scripts that they might be writing. For the actors, it was, if you could believe, the use of their images. That is, they were concerned about having computer-generated images of them used to finish production. So, for example, maybe you would shoot for 2 days and the actor wouldn't want to come back to the set. The studio would say, don't come back, and we won't pay you for having to come back because we're going to use a computer-generated model of you for some part of the show, which is just fascinating technology these days. But both of these groups got together. Frankly, the actors were supporting the screenwriters, and then the screenwriters were able to resolve it, and the actors shortly thereafter. And some great gains here, too. With the screenwriters, I believe the percentage of members that endorsed the deal was like 99%. So very, very, very happy workers with the result, 11,000 of them in number. Similarly, the actors got some great results, too. I'm happy to talk about some of the results if you like.
Yeah, I do want to talk about some of the results because when we talk about particularly actors in the strike, we do know that wages were increased, and I looked at one in particular, those who are going to have some speaking roles up by 7%.
That's right. That's right. And better residual rights also. So if you're involved in a show or a production that does well, they have a continued carry interest in the results of that show. So you're in a show that does well, you don't get just paid for you're shooting the show, but you get paid in the future if it continues to be carried and picked up and picked up by networks and reproduced from time to time, which is great. Basically allowing them to share in the benefit of the good art that they help produce. Moreover, particularly with the actors, I think this AI issue was of great concern. They did not want to be able to be sort of computer generated out of their roles. I still can't believe that's possible, but I guess it wasn't that long ago that I think was it Tupac that appeared in a concert and he wasn't really there. It was a computer generated image of him. So I guess the studios have that capacity now, but they are not allowed without consent. So basically they're not allowed to use computer generated images of actors to continue the furtherance of shooting or shows or anything like that, which, frankly, is fair. I mean, if you're an actor, you don't want to be able to have your image captured and then not to be paid again for acting. It would be ludicrous that could happen, I suppose, and it's just in terms of a moral compass of fairness. But it's great that they were able to solidify their rights to their image so that the studios can't use it and exploit it and take advantage of them.
Yeah, and I want to get to one thing that's pretty popular these days, and that's streaming. And when it comes to streaming residuals, that was also part of the agreement too, because that was a sticky point.
That's exactly right, and it's a good point, right? Because now there are just so many shows that are going out, and the worry for writers in particular was they would write great content, produce great art, and then if it did well, there was just virtually no opportunity to share in the benefit of that great work that they did. The contract indeed gives them residual rights to the art that they create, and moreover gives them an opportunity to get bonuses for doing great work, and that is a hallmark achievement. They have not once before, ever, in any contract, been entitled to bonuses for successful work on projects. Now, under this contract, they do get bonuses. So if they're the great writers for Friends, or if they're the great writers for, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a great Modern Family, or whatever it is, The King of Queens, something that does really well, not only do they share in the benefit of doing it right and getting paid for doing it right to start with, but they get a share in the residuals for the continuation and the publication of that show. So just a great result for artists out there who are entertaining us and making us think about the world differently. Two other great contracts for the actors and the screenwriters that will make them happy and allow them to continue to deliver content that we all enjoy watching them and watch them over the holidays, I'm sure.
Yeah, I got less than a minute here, but I need to get on this because this affects more people than a little bit. The loss of, or I should say unpaid wages, actually being classified as theft. This went into effect about 2 months ago. But do you feel as though this will be something major that we can look at down the pike?
Well, it's very important to consider, right, that depending on who does the assessment, there's between $1 and $3 billion of wages not paid to workers in New York. That's a ton of money. And these are for small business owners, small freelancers who do the work, and then, the company says, well, I'll only pay you half, and they don't have the resources to go after the rest or something. There's been this trend in New York for more and more rights for people who don't get paid their wages in full. This now increases the criminal ramifications for business owners not paying their workers in full, which is just great. I think it's going to change the leverage for workers who are not paid. It's going to change the motivation for employers who aren't paying to please make sure they do pay. And just as another nod to collaboration here, it was this initiative to make unpaid wages a larceny was one joined by Democrats and Republicans equally. So full support from both parties on this. To help champion the rights of workers not being paid their wages, which I think is great.
Yeah, a lot happened throughout the course of 2023, and we're definitely taking a look at it. Got to have you back soon. We got to break down some more things. But Patrick, great to see you, and happy holidays to you and the family.
My pleasure, and best to you and yours also. Take care.
All righty. For more information, visit the website at theboydlawgroup.com. Well, I want to let you know we come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recablecast on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Fios Channel 2133, or watch us anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with my girl Rena Valentine on Friday. And this wraps up this particular episode for us. I am Daren Jaime. Make sure you keep this channel wide open, saying take care, God bless. See you soon.